This is not a Beatle haircut. And that's almost a Beatle guitar, Rickenbacker 325, almost. But hello everybody. We are going to shave today. If you know me, and some of you do in real life, I think, I love the Beatles. The Beatles have been one of the biggest influences on my life. They inspired me to learn to play music, to be in bands, to play their music, to play other people's music, to play guitar, to sing. All of these things. My life has been enriched by the Beatles' influence and their music, and they're a fascinating group of guys, right? And I also love shaving, so when I'm able to marry the two, as I did with another one of my favorites, Frank Sinatra, I was able to get Frank Sinatra's favorite aftershave, so that was kind of cool. I was also able to get Elvis's favorite aftershave. So we got Sinatra, we got Elvis, and how could I ignore them? Now it's time to shave with the razor that the Beatles used back in the early 60s, like about 63, 64. There are lots of photos of them. And here are some right now before I introduce the razor. Take a look at these photos of the Beatles shaving. So what is that mystery white-handled safety razor they were using? It's this right here. It's the Gillette Slim Twist, made in England. It's got a plastic handle. It's a twist to open. It's not adjustable. And when I started thinking about this, I was like, what? I don't want to block the guitar. It's so beautiful. Does that make you nervous? Does that make you nervous that it's going to fall off? Don't worry. It's really solidly set up there. I know. So this, when I was looking into it, I was like, what is that? It's got a white handle and it's got a distinct shape. It's got this like these little ridges on here. And I did some searching and I found out what it was. It's the Gillette Slim Twist. It also goes by some other names, as viewer of this channel, Annika, told me. So I was able to finally find one on eBay. I ordered it and here it is. And I'm going to shave it today. I have not shaved with it. It came in the cool case, which is nice. I've never had the case with a vintage razor. And if you look at those pictures of the Beatles, they used, well, a lot of times they actually used electric razors that they plugged in. But we're looking at the ones that they were using in those photos, the safety razor. What kind of shaving cream did they use? They used, well, at least in one picture I saw, Palmolive Rapid Shave in a can. So, you know, something like this, because they were backstage, they were getting ready for a show, needed a quick shave. There were some pictures of them with a brush on the counter, but it looked like it was completely unused. Like they didn't have time to lather up with a brush. So I couldn't find a can of vintage Palmolive Rapid Shave, but I do have two Palmolive shaving creams. Now one is the stick and one is this right here. It's the tube. So I'm gonna at least use, I'm not gonna use the stick, I'm gonna use this. It's a little bit closer to what would have come out of a can. It's not exactly, but at least it's Palmolive for men. There we go. I haven't used it in a while. I'm going to just use my Sinatra Lennon brush with the Palmolive. And, oh, I forgot, I was going to say, I could have used this, 1972, but I'm going to stick with the Palmolive, try to get close, you know. And then for aftershave, I'm going to use some Florida water because the Beatles' second live performance in the United States was down in Miami on the Ed Sullivan Show back in 1964, so Florida. All right, so let's take it out of the case and see what it looks like. Pop this thing open. It's like a communicator from Star Trek. Beam me up, Scotty. And here it is. Here's the razor. So I cleaned up. This is in a beautiful condition. This one is from 1966. So the Beatles were still touring when this thing was made. They stopped in 66. And here we go. I'm going to show you how it opens. Twist to open, as I said. And you just twist this little thing right here, which is kind of weird. Like, I like it better when it's down on the bottom, but this was probably a cheaper razor to make because this handle is plastic. And this is a very kind of a lightweight metal on top. I need to hold this over here so I'm not blocking the guitar. So that's what it looks like. Twist to open, 1966. I'm going to put a feather blade in it because I want to test the razor. I know what these feather blades are like. I've been using a lot of Bic lately, and I decided to switch back to feather for this one. So you just place that sucker right on top. And then you close it down, twist it back. There we go. Check the blade, make sure that it's even on both sides. It is. And now it's time to lather up. For a long time back when I was single, I was actually part of a Beatles tribute band called the Eggmen. And we played tons and tons of shows, and the Eggmen are still going strong. I play every week with two of the guys that are still in the band. We do an acoustic Beatles show every week, every Tuesday. So if you're in town, come on down and see the Beatle Bash every Tuesday, 6:30 to 8:30. All right, Palmolive. Couldn't get the Rapid Shave in a can, just didn't exist yet, at least on eBay. You know, nobody had one up for sale is what I mean. All right, put some water in here, and I like to mush it around a little bit. I bought this, this was sent to me a long time ago. Long time ago. So I haven't used it in a while. I need some more water. I'm just going to dip it. Dip it. So yeah, I was in this Beatle band for a long time. I started off as sort of the master of ceremonies. I would get up and play and sing with them. They already had 5 guys in the band, so they didn't need a 6th one, but they needed a guy to introduce the band, to come up, because they saw me playing. I actually hired them for my 30th birthday party. And I was playing with 2 of my other bands at the time. I had this big backyard party with a deck that we used as a stage, and I was singing with the 2 bands that I was in. And I hired them, and they saw, I'd been to their shows a bunch, so I'd talked to them a little bit. But when they came to my birthday party and saw that I wasn't some weirdo, and that I could actually play and sing, they said, hey, would you like to join the band? And I wasn't a full member of the band, but I slowly ingratiated myself. And I started playing with them, and like in between sets, I would get up and sing on stage while they were getting changed into their groovy psychedelic clothes from the early Beatles stuff when they were wearing suits and ties. I would get up and sing Beatles songs like Norwegian Wood and Yesterday and Don't Let Me Down, things like that. Just me and an acoustic guitar, so that was a lot of fun. And that's kind of what we do every Tuesday now. Me and, usually it's 4 other guys. Sometimes it's 3. A couple times it was only 2 of us. 2 of us riding nowhere. And now here I am shaving with what the Beatles shaved with. This Palmolive smells great. And this thing is pretty good. Feels pretty good. It's not the smoothest shave I ever had. But this is a really good example of one. It's in great shape. I just had to clean it up a little bit. But when you, if you watch A Hard Day's Night, there's a scene in there. It's actually a little bit hard to grip. I'm having trouble gripping this handle because it's kind of tapered. See that? It kind of tapers down to a point. Anyway, there's a scene in A Hard Day's Night, the Beatles' first movie, where George Harrison is teaching his road manager how to shave, and the guy's like looking at his own reflection in the mirror, and George goes up onto the mirror and like puts shaving cream from a can, and then he shaves the mirror with one of these, so he's like going like that. So check that out. And he's using the Gillette Slim Twist. But yeah, this handle I'm actually finding it's a little bit hard to hold on to. And eventually, if you know the Beatles, you saw about 67 they started growing facial hair. John Lennon had a huge beard. George had a beard for a while. Ringo, I don't think Ringo did. He had a beard before he joined the Beatles, and he had to shave it off to join the Beatles. He looked like a beatnik. He was with a group called Rory Storm and the Hurricanes. He was their drummer, and they met Ringo in Hamburg in the early days. Ringo would show up at their shows after his were done, and he'd cheer them on and be in the audience and have a rollicking, drunken good time in Hamburg. I know I got some viewers in Hamburg. Someday I got to get down to the Reeperbahn, the naughtiest street in the world. But yeah, love the Beatles. Had to do a lot of fake Liverpudlian accents. You know, so sort of started having to talk like this all the time, you know. That sort of thing where they go up at the end. It's almost like a question every time. So please don't roast me in the comments, Scousers and people from that area. There we go. That was pretty mild. It didn't take off a ton. So let's go for a second pass, shall we? Yes, we shall. All right, more Palmolive. This stuff is great. Smells good. I think you can get this fairly anywhere. Over in the UK and here in the States, you just order it online. It's kind of the way things are these days, right? Order just about anything online, except Barbasol. You can't get that over in the UK and Europe. But there is a demand for it. I've heard it. People on my channel have told me they want to use it. Maybe one day. All right, second pass. I will, in case you're new to my shaving channel, I actually started with a different YouTube channel where I just played Beatles music. And I started off doing that. And then somehow the shaving channel eclipsed the other one. But you have to find it. I never tell anybody the secret of my other channel. But I'm going to put a link down below in the description to a video of me playing with my Beatles band just a couple of months ago, because every now and then, if the John Lennon guy is out of town, they call me up and I sit in. So I'll put a link down below to me playing a couple of Beatles songs with the full band, with the drums, bass, keyboard, everything. This is the one and only time I will put a link to my other channel. That's it. Or did I put it to this one? Anyway, I'll put a link to whatever the video is at the end of this one. And I'll put it down below, and also one of those little, maybe one of those fancy cards at the end. One of those fancy YouTube things where you just click on it. So even though this is turning out to be a mild razor, it's doing a good job. The handle's a little bit fiddly. It's very lightweight, but it's not featherweight, you know. It's got a decent weight to it. This one came from Canada. A lot of them that I see for sale on eBay are in Greece for some reason. None of them were anywhere near me, and this is the cheapest one I found, you know, shipping-wise and geographically. Because I ordered one a few months ago, like back in August, and it never showed up. So I'm glad I finally got to try it out. Beatles spec. I got the Beatle guitars. I got other Beatle guitars, suits, Beatle boots. Let me tell you about my Beatle boot story. Hold on. So I was in London back in 2006. My mom was living there for about a year with my stepdad. And I got to spend like 3 weeks there. It was fantastic. Or maybe it was 2 weeks. Anyway, way longer than you normally would. Because I had free room and board. And I was young, and I just started dating my wife, so we weren't that serious yet. So I was able to go over there and for 2 weeks, and I started researching Beatle boots. Like real, authentic Beatle boots. Because I'd had a couple of pairs from, you know, ones that were similar to the ones the Beatles wore, but I wanted the real ones. From Anello and David. They're like a ballet shoe company, a custom shoe company. They're still there, been there forever. And I called up the shop. I can't remember where it was. It was over near, Kensington, South Kensington. And I went in, and they don't normally have off-the-shelf Beatle boots. You have to buy them all bespoke, which is like crazy expensive. But they had a few left because they'd made a run for people just to be able to buy them. But still, they cost $500. Now remember, I was single. I didn't have any kids yet. I had some disposable income. I would never do that again. But it was so cool. I was able to go into the actual shop and buy the actual makers, actual Beatle boots, actually, at 500 pounds, not 500 pounds, $500. But man. And then, you know how I broke them in? I took the tube over to St. John's Wood, where Abbey Road Studios is, where the Beatles did most of their recording. And I walked from Paul McCartney's house, which he still owns a house over there, and he's lived there since the 60s, just one of his many houses, I'm sure. And I walked in my brand new Beatle boots from his house to Abbey Road Studios, which is what he used to do when he was recording there with the Beatles. He would just walk over. That's why, kind of why he bought that house. Plus, St. John's Wood is a very posh neighborhood in London. And so that was cool. I broke them in by taking that walk, which in the end was kind of a bad idea because, you know, you walk that far in brand new leather shoes. I got blisters. I felt like I was paying the price. I was paying the admittance for the right to have those boots. And I still have them. Still have them to this day. Still fit. Good shape. Well made. Can't buy them anymore. Can't buy them. Now you'd have to spend probably $2,000. So even though it costs as much as it did, I lucked out. It was just meant to be, kind of. All right, I'm going to do a little touch up here because there's a couple of spots that I wasn't able to get. And before I go any further, I have 3 shout outs. One is Tomas Salazar. Shout out to you, Tomas. I'm going to go up here. I have 3 shout outs, I know. I don't normally have any. Then I have Stephen Castro. Shout outs to you, Stephen. And then the last one, I'm not sure of the pronunciation, so I hope I mispronounce it correctly. Elo Cartool. Shout out to you, Elo. I hope I got that right. If I didn't, I apologize. So shout out to all 3 of you. Tomas, Stephen, and Elo. Glad you could join me on the Beatles shave. And I'm glad I finally got this razor to try out. I've got so many other Beatle, so much more Beatle junk. Just add a razor to the pile, why not? It wasn't very expensive. These are not in demand. But it is vintage. It was made in England. It was made when the Beatles were still the Beatles. They broke up in 1970. The year I was born. Yeah. All right, let me feel here. There's a couple little spots. I don't want to overdo it. I don't feel like I have. That's why I'm okay doing this. This 3.5 passes. I wouldn't recommend this for normal people. Because I am not normal. Got a couple of nicks. No big deal. All right. Rinse off the Beatle razor. Gillette Slim Twist. Yeah, try one today. I know a lot of you guys have them. You were commenting after the last video. I think they have a blue-handled one and a black-handled one. But the Beatles, if you want the Beatles spec one, you got to use the white handle. All right. Florida water. There's a really big shear here in Miami, Florida, with these 4 youngsters from Liverpool. It's a terrible Ed Sullivan impersonation. All right, here we go. Ooh, gosh, it pours out a lot. All right, that's okay. It's cheap. Oh. Yeah. All right. That's all the singing I'm doing for you folks today. If you want more, you got to go check out the other video. You got to come to town on a Tuesday and come see me live. And I'm going to clean everything up. All right. Well, there you go. The Gillette Slim Twist Beetle model razor. When they weren't using an electric razor, they were using one of these. Photographically captured many times. And in the movie A Hard Day's Night. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining me on this. It was a lot of fun. I hope you come back on next Friday, because I'll be here shaving for all of you. I hope this accent's not too fake. I fooled a few people when I was announcing the band back in the day. A few people from England, I mean. Anyway, that's all. I'll see you on Friday. Ta!